Well, the question for today's DnDaily vlog is this. How do you feel about dungeon masters that use pre-rolls to help move combat along more efficiently? And for that matter, the bigger question is, what can we as DMs do to make combat more efficient? One of the things that every DM is going to face in their games is the fact that sometimes the game seems to just bog down and take longer than it feels like it should, or maybe than it's meant to. And so I wanted to talk today about what are some techniques, some tricks, and some ideas that we can use as a dungeon master to move the game forward more efficiently and keep everyone engaged at the table. One of those that I've seen in the past is the use of pre-rolls, which is to say rolling a bunch of dice before you even sit down at the table. A lot of DMs will do this in a way where they basically roll a whole bunch of D20s, a whole bunch of D10s, 12s, 4s, 6s, the whole list, right? They just go from one die to the other, and they make a list of, 30 or 40 or however many rolls they feel like they might need, and as they come up in the game, they just check off the next number on the list. For some DMs and GMs, this speeds things along. It makes them feel more focused into the game and helps them to be more efficient in how they run the game. I totally get it. It's a very valid system. I've seen, like I said, a couple different DMs use it, and it can really help to keep things moving along. I kind of feel like on some level it takes away a little bit of the drama of the game, because when we're in the game, I love to sort of feel that moment of like, oh, what's gonna happen when the DM, or really when anyone at the table, is rolling the die. So for me, I'm not so keen to use that technique. It doesn't bother me so much if another DM does that when I'm playing in the game. I think it's their prerogative, and so cool, I'll roll with it. Hey, careful with the puns there. Okay, that was unintentional. The point being that I will, accept whatever the dungeon master does that makes them feel like they have the game under control, because I understand what it feels like to sort of feel like things are not working the way you want to when you're trying to run a great game for your friends. That being said, one of my favorite ways to sort of be more efficient at the table, or at least during combat, is that I like to do things like batching rolls. So for instance, if I have a character that has 3 attacks, rather than rolling 1 die at a time, I'm probably going to roll 2 or 3 die at the same time. At the very least, you can do this when you roll an attack roll and the damage die at the same time. And what that does is it sort of speeds things along just by a few seconds, really, maybe at most a minute. But what happens is, if let's say I'm a level 1 fighter and I'm using a longsword and I'm using it with a shield, so I'm going to roll a 1d8 for my damage. And at first level I only have 1 attack. So I roll my d20 and a d8 at the same time. Whatever the result is, if it's a hit or it's a miss, the damage die has already been rolled. So number one, I'm not thinking, oh gosh, what die am I going to roll for damage? It's already been figured out. And number two, it's already been rolled. So all I need to do is add my modifier. So it makes things that much quicker in the game. I tell the DM I rolled an 18, which means I hit armor class, let's say 24. Is that a hit? The DM says yes. Then I immediately have my die roll, whatever that was, and add my bonus and tell them the damage. It's just a slight way to speed things along. And when you are rolling 3 attacks, if I roll 3 d20s at once, again, rather than rolling, picking it up, rolling, picking it up, rolling again, you see what I'm saying? You kind of minimize that sort of little bit of repetition through the battle, through the combat. And if you have a monster that is doing multi-attack, rolling 3 attacks every round, every time they attack, you can see how we're sort of like condensing that little bit of time. That's just another simple technique, and we can encourage our players to do the same thing. It helps move things along. Those are two simple ways to move combat along, and those are specific to die rolling. I think there's other ways that we could be more efficient. I'm all about like cheat sheets, or maybe having, you know, the reference you need right there, easily, readily available. For instance, knowing the modifiers of the combatants ahead of time makes it a lot smoother during the game. One of the things I struggle with is that I'm running the game on Roll20, so there's a little bit of a lag. And so I feel like what I've found that I can do to make the game move more fluidly is take the time to adjust the general flow of the game, how things feel. I can describe an event as I'm pulling up the next character sheet, for instance. So, you know, you've attacked, you know, and while I'm describing the effect of your attack, I know my minion is up next. I'll open their sheet and get ready to make their attack while I'm explaining what just happened in combat to the group. And so now I can weave things together in such a way to where they seem more seamless. Well, that was a good one. They feel more seamless and more, there's a better flow, and it feels like the game is moving forward. I think it's all about perception on a certain level. If things feel like they're bogging down and feel like they're taking a long time, that's when people sort of get frustrated and distracted, in my opinion and from my experience. Whereas if the action feels intense and every moment feels like it counts, you know, every roll is critical, if we sort of have that energy in the way we're engaging with the players, I've found that in the games I've run that they tend to respond in kind, and what could be a very long battle might not feel very long at all. Whereas again, if our energy's low and the way we're describing things is sort of dull and boring, it can feel like a 5-minute combat takes forever. So that probably has more to do with how we are presenting the combat than the actual efficiency of the combat. But like I said a moment ago, cheat sheets are great. You know, if you just have like, if you play at a table in person, I find that combat cards are an amazing way to run combat. You just have like the basic information you need. Basic stats, hit points, you know, armor class, your attacks and so forth, all just clean, simple, and easily written down so you have a quick reference during the game, rather than, oh, let me pull out my monster manual and open up to the right page and all that. I mean, you can have it, if you like using the monster manual, just tab the pages ahead of time. That's one thing that you could do for every aspect of the game if you want to move it forward and speed things up. Have those things you go to regularly and you find yourself using regularly, have them within quick reach. Cheat sheets, you know, your Dungeon Master screen has all that information on there. You can put post-it notes on there and so forth. These are all different kinds of ways that you can speed up, for sure, combat and definitely gameplay in general. In summary, just being organized is really going to help us out as a DM. And think ahead, right? What will we need for the session, or what might we need for the session, and make sure I've got that readily available and easily accessible. Those are the things that are really going to make your game that much easier. If you know of other combat specific ways to speed things up, share those ideas in the comments on this video here. And hey, I've got a question for you. Did you like the holiday wish yesterday that we talked about? That was a lot of fun to do, and I hope you didn't think that just because it was a holiday, you weren't gonna get another DnDaily vlog. I'm on a roll here to hit 365. Today is 341, and you can count on me producing, posting, and coming up with something fun to talk about for the next 24 days. Thank you for being a part of it. I look forward to seeing you at a table someday. Check that video out when you get a second. And by the way, remember, it's your game. play your way. Hey, easy with the puns there, buddy. Oh, okay, sorry. That was not an intentional pun, but hey, it worked. Intentional. Oh, God. Let's hear about them in the combat.